Coming off one of the craziest NFL trade deadlines, we're looking squarely at NFL Week 10. We got major injuries, rivalries, and the playoffs are right around the corner. Stay tuned for our NFL Week 10 Best Bets episode. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of the Degen Docs here on the DFSG Plus channel. What is up, folks? NFL Week 10. We've got it all. Crazy trade deadline, major injuries, and of course, ways to make you money. We got a lot to get to this week. So what is up, folks? I am one of your hosts here, the Degen Doc. But more importantly, I'm joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Doing well. We're on the back half of the NFL football season at this point, and it's absolutely crazy what just went down a couple days ago during the trade deadline.
It's insane. We're going to get to trades. We're going to get to big injuries, and we're going to get to all the things. But hey, look, folks, if this is your first time joining us for the NFL Week 10 Betting Locks and Picks episode, first off, welcome. Thanks for tagging along. And if you've been one of our loyal friends and followers who's been hanging out with us and cashing all season long, welcome back, because we are back for another great episode here. NFL Week 10. The way this is going to go down, we are going to start with a little bit of banter up top. We're going to talk a little bit of trade reaction and major injuries, do the NFL buys, record recap, but then what you came for. We're going to start with the props of the week. Derek and I will each give out our three favorite player props for this week. Then we're going to go to our best bets, our Docs prescription. We've been hitting at almost 60% over the past 5 weeks. Insane hit rate, so you're going to want to stay tuned there. We'll get to a nice Degen plays, 20 and over. And we'll round it out with a Thursday night football preview between an AFC West battle. The Las Vegas Raiders head into Denver to take on those mile-high Broncos. But as I mentioned, you talked about it, I talked about it, we talked about it together. Crazy NFL trade deadline. I'm going to go over the highlights, and I want your reaction here. We had a fire sale from the New York Jets. Star defensive tackle Quinnen Williams gone. He is with Dallas Cowboys now for a second-round pick this year or this upcoming year, and the next 2027 first-round pick. You had Sauce Gardner get traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a couple first-round picks. You had Jacoby Myers get sent from the Raiders to the Jaguars for a fourth and a fifth. You had Jalen Phillips go from Miami to Philadelphia for a third-round pick. And finally, Seattle gains another wide receiver in the speedster, Rashid Shaheed, there for a couple day 3 picks. All right, brother. A lot of huge trades. Usually we get maybe one or two of these. We had, I would say, 5 major trades to teams trying to contend. What's the most impactful one for this season, would you say?
I'm gonna actually lean towards Jalen Phillips to the Eagles, because the Eagles in general, I mean, they won last year because of their defense in the running game, and their defense has taken a little bit of a step back this past for this NFL season. They've been missing a little bit of help in that pass rush front, and Jalen Phillips is a guy that now that he's actually fully healthy and has gotten rolling over the past 7-8 weeks here. I think that in that scheme, in that defense, Jalen Phillips is going to hunt. And I hate to say that to you as a Giants fan, but you guys have already played him twice, so you don't have to play him again, because I don't think your Giants are going to make the playoffs.
Right. Yes, I think that's a fair
bet. Yeah. So I really like the Jalen Phillips to the Eagles play, but there were a lot of pretty impactful trades that went down.
Yeah. I think if he stays healthy, I think you're correct. Now the Eagles, they've kind of been on a stretch of they'll do these kind of low risk, high reward type things. They brought in Michael Carter, Jair Alexander, and Jalen Phillips. I put out a tweet, but they clearly have a type that many people think would be maybe washed, and they're taking a chance on. Jalen Phillips coming off both a right Achilles tendon tear, then to an ACL tear. Those are major injuries. He's clearly lost a step, but he can be a productive player. Really, all those guys have pretty major injury concerns. You got Nolan Smith coming back from the triceps. You got Brandon Graham from the couch. if
Yep.
they can stay healthy, I think that group is going to make or break, how deep of a playoff run they can make.
Yep.
I have my concerns in the injury front, but hey, that might just be my Giants bias. So
Yeah.
I think unbiasedly, that's a fair assessment. I'm going to
Sure.
say Sauce Gardner for the Colts because
Sure.
if anything, that pass defense, with some injuries that they've been dealing with, has been the susceptible part.
No doubt.
Aside from Daniel Jones turning the ball over, but Sauce Gardner really gives them a shutdown corner that makes that team that much more scary. I mean, we're talking about a 7-2 team atop
Yeah.
the AFC. And I also sneakily do like, I really like the Myers and Shaheed trades, man. I think that
Hmm.
both
I
those
do too.
teams, Shaheed, Sam Darnold's been on a tear, man. So
Yep.
if JSN is getting all
Yep.
that attention, you got Cooper Kupp, Horton, and now you got the speedster and Shaheed. Watch out for those Seahawks. But
Yeah. What would you say was your biggest surprise coming off of the trade deadline? Because there's one name there that
Quinn
surprised
Williams.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Quinn Williams. I think just the Cowboys trading for that big of a player with their
Yeah.
record at 3-5-1. Uh,
And basically just giving away what they got back in the Micah Parsons trade. I
yeah,
mean, as a whole. I mean, obviously, you bring in. Now I'm missing on the name that they brought in from the
Kenny Clark.
Packers, Kenny Clark. You trade Mozzie Smith away in that. I mean, I would say you still get a little bit of an upgrade in Kenny Clark, but we know that outside pass rushers get to the quarterback a whole lot more than interior guys, which Quinnen Williams is.
Yeah,
We'll see if he makes that big of an impact from a pass rush standpoint. Just
yeah.
because that's what we have talked about that in the past. What the Cowboys are missing as well.
Yeah, I think for the Cowboys situation, I think Micah wasn't going to play for him, and I think they actually
Well, fair.
saved about half the money with Quinn
That's
Williams.
true.
And if you look at the Cowboys, like they actually with the rookie Arizuke from Boston College, their pass rush
Yeah.
has been okay. It's been the run game, like they couldn't stop the run,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they've got a bunch of problems this year.
Oh
Is
yeah.
is the defense? I'm not expecting them to be good. I don't hate it actually from the Cowboys' perspective, but it was a
Sure.
surprise from both sides there.
Sure.
All right, let's go through a couple of the big injuries. It was a
Yeah.
big
Had a
one
number of
for
those.
trades and a number of huge injuries. Packers, the tight end, arguably wide receiver one, Tucker Kraft, having a crazy, incredible year. Already cashed one of our futures we gave out in his 5+ touchdowns. ACL
Yep.
tear out for the season. Jaden Daniels, elbow dislocation, is going to be out a significant amount of time.
No
Joe
doubt.
Alt, left tackle for the Chargers, a season-ending ankle surgery as he's had his second high ankle
Yep.
sprain. San Francisco DN Michael Williams out for the year with an ACL tear. Defensive end Deo Adebingo out for the year for the Bears, and then Marshawn Lattimore ACL tear for the Washington Commanders. The same question, man. Which one do you think is the most impactful out of all these injuries?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to not say Jaden Daniels being the quarterback, and we've seen this team with Marcus Mariota already this season and how different that offense really looks.
Right.
But Tucker Kraft, I mean that offense has ran through him up
Yep.
there in Green Bay for most of the season. Josh Jacobs has been kind of an afterthought. I mean he's had glimpses of dominance, but in general he's definitely taken a step back this year, and Tucker Kraft has really filled that role as basically their wide receiver one and their big play threat. So it'll be interesting to see if one of those 15 slot wide receivers for the Packers can step up in replacement of Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, no, I think you'd hit the nail on the head. Luke Musgrave was a higher round pick than
Yeah,
Tucker Kraft. He's
same
dealt with
same draft.
injuries. He's injured, or he's supposed to be healthy. So
Yep,
do they go to Musgrave, or I will say I kind of trust Matt LaFleur as a play caller to kind of scheme some things up. They've got
agreed.
an extra time with Monday night against Philly, but look,
Yeah,
Philly is supposed to have gotten better off the bye, gotten healthier, gotten
right.
these new additions. The
Yep.
Packers just lost to the Panthers and had their arguably best offensive player out for the year. It seems very easy to click the Philadelphia Eagles button on the road there in Lambeau in what was going to
Hmm.
likely be a snow game or below freezing. I'm curious to watch that game. I don't know. I haven't looked at your plays. If you have
Should
that,
be
I would just
interesting.
caution people to, the Eagles almost seem a little bit too easy there with everything going right for them and everything. Like Malafer is a good play caller, and the Packers have
Yep.
shown when they want to be good, like they look
They
one
can
of the
be.
best teams in the NFL. So that's going to be a very intriguing game. But all right, NFL Week 10 buys. We got 4 teams on buys: the Cincinnati
Yep.
Bengals, the Dallas Cowboys, the Tennessee Titans, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
For the records recap here, we a little bit of a middling week. Definitely, not something that we're going to be super bragging about. We were again continued to be profitable on Thursday night. I think it's been 4
Yeah.
weeks in a row that we have both been profitable on Thursday night. We've been killing it on the Thursday night street, so definitely pay attention there. Both 2-2 on the locks. 23-17 over the past 5 weeks, hitting at about 58%. So still well profitable there with the locks.
Yep.
53% is what like professional sports bettors aim to go to be profitable over a large volume. So we are
Right.
definitely on pace. But hey, we're looking to have an even better week this week. And let's get it kicked off, man. The
Get it
player
rolling.
props of the week, NFL Week 10. I will let you go first, my friend. Where are you taking me?
Yeah, let's I don't know. Let's start with Quentin Sean Judkins and the Cleveland Browns there.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense has basically ran through Quentin Sean Judkins since he's been back. I guess since he signed from that offseason little scandal that he had. But going against a Jets team that just a couple of weeks ago gave up over 150 yards to Chase Brown, who hasn't looked very good. They just got rid of Quentin Williams, their big defensive tackle in the middle of that defense.
Yep.
I think Quinshon Judkins gets it rolling here off the bye for the Brownies and goes over 85.5 rushing yards at -110.
Yeah, I looked at this pretty heavily. I was actually potentially I couldn't see his I don't know if they had his touchdown market posted yet from what I could tell or the rush
Mm.
attempts. I think that was one I was going to be looking at as well. But yeah, man, like you said, no Quentin Williams. They've no Sauce Gardner. Who knows what the quarterback's going to look like? I think that game script wise and the fact that he's getting healthy, I really like
Yep.
this play here.
Yeah,
Um,
and two, I mean, outside of the New England game, this going before the bye, uh, he hit this number in 3 of 4 games, and it wasn't really close. And well, I guess the Miami game, he was 1 yard short there, but yeah, I think this is something that going against a suspect defense in general, especially losing a couple of your big key pieces. I jumped
yeah.
on this one pretty quick.
No, I like it. In the toilet bowl between the Cleveland Browns and the New
That's
York
right.
Jets there.
Yeah.
Hey, it's big for I kind of need the Jets to get it done. I need Miami to continue to have the worst record in the NFL. But we've got, and I guess the Titans, golly, the damn Titans. Daniel Jones under 243.5 passing yards, -110. I'm going to the Berlin game there. We've got another Europe game early in the
Yep.
morning that may be ugly as well, and I'm kind of betting on it to be. This is a situation where the Colts they just got embarrassed in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Danny Dimes turned into Danny turned the ball over.
Mhm.
They had 6 turnovers. He had 3 interceptions, a couple fumbles there. It's been a situation where I think that Steichen knows that maybe we don't want to have Daniel Jones throw the ball a ton. And he's going up against the number 1 pass defense in the NFL, in the Atlanta Falcons. They
Yep.
are only giving up on average 158 yards a game. They've played 8 games so far. Only 1 quarterback has gone over this number, and it was last week with Drake May. That was on the road. I think they're also a bit susceptible on the ground. They're giving up over 120 yards on the ground. Jonathan Taylor. Play behind your defense and give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. I think that's the formula. I don't think they need to pass it. And that's the area where Atlanta kind of has the advantage here.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman did not practice today. Like, just one of those situations where it's a tough matchup, and I don't think they're going to need to throw the ball a ton. Just
Yep.
hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Both these teams are going to want to get the running game going. So I like an ugly, sloppy game in this one. And I think Daniel Jones, more from volume perspective, goes under the 243.5 pass yards.
Yeah, I don't mind that one at all, and I'm gonna actually stay in that same game because I also think it's gonna be kind of an ugly game. A lot of
Right.
times these European tours that the NFL goes on just
Hmm.
is not great football as a whole. And I'm counting on the Colts to have a pretty similar outlook as they did against the Steelers a week or so ago. A week ago, they held the Steelers tight ends to only 26 yards, and we've talked about how Artie Smith and that Steelers offense basically runs through the tight end and DK Metcalf when it comes to the passing game. So I'm going to be fading Kyle Pitts and going to say that he goes under 46.5 receiving yards at -110.
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, this Colts defense has shown up. I think now you got the shiny new toy in Sauce Gardner.
Yes.
And yeah, this I mean these Europe games, man, they're just weird. Middle of the
Yep.
week, like middle of the year, excuse me. Like I just I think it's gonna be ugly. So I'm with you there.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go from backing the number one pass defense to backing the number one rush defense, and that is the New England Patriots this season, kind of
Yeah.
surprisingly. They've really been shutting teams down on the ground there. Give me Rashad White under 47.5 rush yards. Now, look, there's likely going to be no Bucky Irving again. He did not practice. He's running, but he hasn't been cleared for contact. It's a shoulder injury. That's kind of
Right.
where he needs to be. Obviously, he can't be running. They're only giving up 75 yards a game this year. And Rashad White, he's filled in admirably in the backfield, but he's done it kind of but more through the air than on the ground. If you look at his
Mhm.
past couple weeks here, he's had 38, 35, 65, 41, and then 17 in games where Bucky was there. Um, you know, he hasn't hit this. He's hit this number once in the past 4 weeks. So
Yep.
I think that's where. Hold on. Can you got me there? Sorry, I see it's connection's a little bit bad here.
Yep. You're
But
good.
yeah, give me the Rashad White under 57.5 there. He's only hit this once in the past 4 weeks and going up against the number one rush defense in the New England Patriots. And I think this is going to be a little bit more. They're going to have to attack them through the air. And don't forget Sean Tucker. It does please him to run the ball. So he is a capable backup. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
going for my second one. What about your third one for the props?
Final one, I'm going to go with another tight end. This time, I love this matchup for this tight end. Sam Laporta. I'm going to take his over 3.5 receptions. Spending a little bit on this one at -150, but in general, Sam Laporta has gone over this number in 2 of the last 3 weeks, and he's going up against an aging Commanders defense that has allowed over 60 yards each of the last couple of weeks to the tight end position. So Sam Laporta over 3.5 receptions, I think, is pretty doable, especially when he's a guy that's getting 6-ish targets per game. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be a big part of this offense and goes over that 3.5 receptions.
Yeah, no, I mean we'll get to it a little bit later, but I really like the Lions in this one, and something that people may forget is a revenge spot going against the Commanders here.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for my last prop. Give me DeAndre Swift over 60.5 rushing yards against my New York Football Giants. There, these are all -110 over at Bet365 for me.
Yep.
Look, the Giants can't stop the run. I have
Nope.
painfully had to see that and live it out the past few weeks, and we, thought we had some things fixed, and we're again one of the worst teams against the run. It's pretty despicable to see with supposedly a great O line, but we're the second worst rushing team, rush defense, giving up 150 yards on the ground. And DeAndre
Yep.
Swift, he didn't play last week because of the injury to the groin. He's back at practice today. Typically, if they're back at practice Wednesday, it's a great sign for their availability.
Right.
Before he got banged up the week before, against Baltimore in a game where they were down, he had 108 yards and then 124 yards. So I
Yep.
think he easily pops over the 60. They've been running the ball really well, and it's a situation where the Giants, like even if you look at Christian McCaffrey, right? Look at the two teams that they've let up over 100 yards to. The Eagles,
True.
they let up 200 yards, and then the 49ers, well over 100 yards. That was a situation where both those teams were bottom in the league rush offensive. That
Yep.
were not these were not teams. I know you hear Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley and think, oh, they've been really efficient and great on the run. That's not been the case this season. But
No.
man, did they get right against this Giants defense. So unfortunately, the Giants can't stop the run, and DeAndre Swift's going to benefit from that. I think 60.5 is way too low for his number there. All right. Quick recap for the props here for Professor Locks. We've got Sam Laporta over 3.5 receptions, playing a little juice there. Kyle Pitts under 46.5 receiving yards, minus 110. Quinshon Judkins over 85.5 rushing yards, minus 110 in the toilet bowl against the Jets. For myself, Danny Dimes under 243.5 pass yards in Berlin. Rashad White under 47.5 rush yards against the number one rush defense in the New England Patriots. And DeAndre Swift over 60.5 rush yards. He's going to run all over my Giants, and Shane Bowen still is not going to get fired. All right. I mean, hey, if you're going to be miserable, I've found just why not make money off of it? Okay, now we're getting into the section where we've been crushing it the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue this heater that we've been on. This is our best bets section, what we like to call around here Doc's prescription, because they're bets we feel so good about. We are prescribing them to you right now. All right, my friend, where are you taking us here for NFL Week 10 best bets?
Yeah, I went with them last week, and they did me pretty well. So I'm going to go back to the well. Give me the Carolina Panthers at home to take down the New Orleans Saints, who has just looked pitiful pretty much all year. The transition to I think it's Kyle Shuck. That didn't work for the Saints. He looked just as bad as Spencer Rattler did.
Tyler Shuck,
yeah, and Carolina Panthers got a win last week against a pretty good Packers team.
Upset, man. Huge upset.
Yeah, so going back home, I think that they continue the trend there and take the Saints down. I'll lay the 5.5 points with the Panthers.
Yeah, I think I even kind of said that maybe the ugliest play last week. And shout out to you, man. Not only did they hit it on the they hit the alt spread, they hit the money line. I mean, that's a huge win that not a lot of people saw coming. So credit to you. Going to keep riding those Carolina Panthers. And yeah,
sometimes you just have to back the betting instincts a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, hey, 2 touchdowns is a hard number to cover in the NFL. I will take us to a game it looks like you may be on. We'll see what direction you go. But give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, minus 1.5, plus 102 in Houston, Texas. Yeah, look, this is a situation where CJ Stroud has already been ruled out with a concussion for this week. You have Davis Mills. If we look at the game last week against the Broncos, the Texans were kind of in control. And then CJ Stroud got hurt, and then they slowly just let that lead go, and the offense could do nothing with Davis Mills. The offensive line is still bad, and Jacksonville, one of their strengths is the defensive line. You bring over Jacoby Myers to help with whether Brian Thomas is injured or he just drops the ball. Parker Washington, who I was on last week, he's been on an absolute tear coming out of the slot. So I know there's still no Travis Hunter, but I think CJ Stroud being out, I think we're going to really see how bad this Houston offense is. So I will be fading Mr. Longneck in Davis Mills. But why don't you tell the people why you think I'm incorrect here?
Yeah, no, I think I'm taking the Texans money line. I don't care about the 1.5. Give me the Texans on the money line. Part of this is just a flow sheet kind of a thing. I think the Texans have dominated the Jags until this past game that they played a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. Being at home, I think that the Houston Texans, even with Davis Mills, who actually I thought that the offense looked pretty good with Davis Mills. I mean, obviously the production wasn't there, but things looked like it was moving fairly well. I guess that's not necessarily the word that I'm looking for, but CJ Stroud had over the last, I'll say, year and a half, just has happy feet. He doesn't look comfortable in the pocket. I think Davis Mills is just going to let the thing fly and just sit back there and try to pick apart this Jacksonville defense who has looked susceptible at times. I mean, just this past week, they didn't look great against the Raiders, who we've talked about how their offense isn't real great, especially with Geno Smith turning the ball over the way that he does. So, give me the Texans on the money line. Those gambling instincts are once again starting to buzz a little bit.
Wow, I'm shocked. You're saying that Davis Mills is a slight upgrade from your former Buckeye and CJ Stroud. That's okay. Okay.
I wouldn't say he's an upgrade long term, but for short little periods, yes.
So I would say if you are with Derek here and with the Texans, I think I would think the under, although it's low at 37.5, I think you smash the under because I think if the Texans win, it's a situation where their defense absolutely dominates, and this is like a 10-3 game or a 10-7
Yeah.
game. For
Yeah.
me, I'm hoping that Davis Mills, is very gracious and lends some turnovers to this very opportunistic Jets defense, and
We'll,
it
we'll,
sets
we'll
up
talk about that. We'll talk
easy
about that here in a little bit as
easy
far as this
situation.
turnover thing.
Okay. All right. I love it. So, all right. The next one here. So you are on the Texans. I'm on the Jags. Uh, hopefully one that you're not fading. Give me the Steelers +3, minus
Yep.
112 there over on DraftKings. This is Sunday Night Football, I believe, in LA. Big situation. Everyone was picking the Colts last week. The Steelers were dead in the water. Blah blah blah. How
Yep.
did they win that game? Pressure on the quarterback,
Yep.
creating turnovers.
Yep.
And we have a situation where Joe Alt out for the season again. Rashawn Slater is not coming back. We
Yep.
see the difference in this
Yep.
team. We've had an example of this already. When Joe Alt is in the game, the Chargers are efficient and effective. When Joe
Yep.
Alt is out of the game, this offense is miserable. There's turnovers all over the place, and the team just falls apart.
Yep.
So you have a situation where you got two backup tackles going against TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbert, and a defense that's going to be very aggressive and blitz all over the place. I think there's going to be just as many Steelers fans out there in LA. So I'm all over the Steelers +3. What say you?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'll tell that one. Steelers +3. I mean, yes, with Joe Alt out, they did bring in Trevor Penning from the Saints. I don't necessarily think that he's going to be, the savior of LA out there for the Chargers.
I don't think he was
And
started. He was a backup.
exactly, and between that and their running game kind of still struggling. I mean, this was a Steelers defense that just held Jonathan Taylor, who's been in MVP talks, to only 45 yards on 14 carries. Like, the Steelers, when they want to, basically, can play really, really good defense. Now, I think they figured something out in the back end this past week. Once they brought in Kyle Duggar from the Patriots from the week before, they moved him to strong safety and basically Jalen Ramsey back to free safety and just kind of let him run and roam on the back end. Cleaned up a lot from a passing game standpoint. Now, yes, they still gave up 340 yards to Daniel Jones. That was game script. He
It was a
threw
lot of
50
garbage
times.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. So they also caused 3 interceptions. So I think the
Yeah.
Steelers is a hammer play this week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a home field advantage. I was very shocked to see the Steelers as underdogs in this one, but hey, we'll take it because
Yep.
backing Tomlin as a dog is much feels much better than as a favorite. So we
Yes.
are
Agreed.
both on the Pittsburgh Steelers there. All right, I'm gonna go. Let's go to Tampa. Tampa Bay
I like
minus
that
two
one.
and a half, minus 110. I will be in Tampa this week for a little bit of a family reunion there, and I know it's gonna be hot in Tampa. And
Yep.
in New England, it is not so hot. So the weather, I think, is going to be a factor. But also, really, what it boils down to is yes, the New England Patriots, they look great. You know what? They're 7-2, 6-2, whatever they are,
Yep.
and 7-2. But look at who they've played. They've lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Steelers. They beat the Dolphins, Panthers, Bills was their probably only good win.
Right.
Saints, Tennessee, Cleveland, and Atlanta. I think only the Bills and the Panthers are the only teams with winning records that they've beaten so far. I mean, we're talking about, Miami, the Raiders, the Saints, Tennessee, Cleveland,
Yep.
Atlanta.
Yep.
This is the bottom of the NFL.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the Bucks have played decent competition and they're coming off the bye. They're getting a little bit healthier. Look, I'm not expecting Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, or Hassan Reddick to be out there. Neither of
Yep.
them practice today. It's only Wednesday, but coming off the bye, typically, if guys don't practice Wednesday, not a great sign. There's a
Right.
chance they can play, but I am fully expecting those 3 guys to not be there. But someone who is going to be back, Luke Godeke, the right tackle there. They're now going to get 4/5 of that offensive line fully healthy. You've got Emeka Buka healthy off the hamstring. You got Sterling Shepard. You got Tens Johnson, Cameron Johnson. You got Kate Otten. You got the
Yep.
2 running backs there. I think, and you got Baker Mayfield healthy as well. He was pretty banged up, and before that, he was playing at an MVP level. Look,
Yep.
Drake May has been a really good story in the Patriots and all that, but I think a lot has to do with who they played. I mean, Atlanta gave them all they could ask for They missed an extra point, and if not, that game would have been going to overtime, and who knows? So
Yep.
I love the Bucks here at home. I think this is a situation where, yes, either due to the heat, they're getting a little bit healthier. They're coming off the bye. They got the rest disparity. It's supposed to be 81, but if you've been in Florida, the humidity is probably going to be all over the place there. So, I love the Bucks in this one at home. So give me the Bucks -2.5.
Yeah, my final pick. Sorry about it, but I'm taking the Bears -4.5 against your Giants this week. I think the Bears are going to run all over them, whether it's Swift or Monungai. I don't necessarily know um, if the Giants offense is really going to be able to do a whole lot against this Bears team. They've been giving up some points over the last couple weeks, but before that, the Bears defense looked pretty damn good. And I mean, the Bears can put up some points just in general. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure that the Bills are pretty good, like you kind of predicted in the offseason going into the season. So, give me the Bears laying the 4.5.
The Bears, you said. Yeah, you said the Bills,
The
and I was
Bears.
like, what are we talking about? The
Sorry,
Bills.
the
But
Bears. The
yeah, Bears.
Bears -4.5 at home.
Yes. I'm not going to give you a lot of pushback here. The Giants have been miserable. They've been awful. Jackson Dart's
Yep.
cool. He's awesome.
Yep.
Scatterboo neighbors are out.
Still has a
I think,
JV wide receiver squad, and
yeah, and they
Byron
dropped the ball.
Tracy did okay with coming back, but
Didn't really look that great. Yeah,
didn't
I
look
mean,
great.
really, I think what burns you is a shootout with a backdoor cover. I'd say that's
Yeah,
what I'd be worried about with the four and a
yeah,
half there.
definitely.
But yeah, no, I mean, at this point, futures wise, I hope the Bears win. I was high on the Bears. I have them to win the division to make the playoffs. On the win total, so there's no reason they shouldn't. This is in Chicago, correct?
Yep,
Whether there's going to be some weather or things like that. So Giants are banged up. Still, the secondary's beat up. Their offensive line is beat up. I know the Bears. The Bears don't. They've lost a couple pass rushers, so they're
they
going
have.
to need to be able to create some things. Interior offensive line or defensive line is where they need to win. I will
Yep,
say, and they've got some pretty good D tackles, so that should be fine because our tackles are Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminar are actually pretty good. So
right.
I think if they can get some interior pressure, I think this will be nice. So not going to give you a lot of pushback there. It's hard to really say nice things about the Giants. All right. Last play for me, going back to the team total market. It's been doing well for me this year. Give me Detroit team total over 29.5 points, -112. Yes, I know it is a lot to bet on a team to score 30 points, but it's the Lions. And let's not forget, they're coming off a bad loss against Minnesota Vikings team. They were big
Yep,
favorites there. This Washington Commanders team that they're playing is decimated. No
yes,
Jaden Daniels, no Marshawn Lattimore. Trey
yep,
Amos got banged up. They've
yep,
lost Dorrance Armstrong for the year. They've lost, another edge rusher. This team is like they're old. They have nothing really to play for, and they're playing a team that is going to not give a damn. Like the
yep,
Detroit Lions are the one team who will throw when they're up by 30. They do not give a shit. They are
yep,
trying to score and impose their will. Like this, if there was like style points in the NFL, this would be like the Oregon of the NFL, right? This would be a
yep,
team that they're going to score no matter what. And this is a revenge game. Let's not forget the Lions got embarrassed. They were the number one seed. Detroit was packed. The city was going crazy. They had Super Bowl aspirations, and Jaden Daniels and the Commanders came in there, put up a 50 spot on them, and
yep,
just embarrassed them. So I think this is a little bit of pay whack. I think Penny Sewell the beat reporters are already talking it. Penny Sewell was like, they asked him, is this one personal? And he cracked a smile and he said, maybe. Like, players care about this shit. So
no doubt.
I am
Yeah,
fully expecting, the Commanders defense has already given up like 27 points a game. I think the Lions are going to be very pissed off. Jameson Williams, Amara, Laporta, I think this offense is going to absolutely eat. So give me them over 29.5 points there. All right, let's do a quick recap on the best bets here for Professor Locks. He's going with the Carolina Panthers to continue their great run so far, -5.5 against the New Orleans Saints. The Chicago Bears to beat up on a bad team, as in my New York Giants, -4.5 at home. The Houston Texans at Davis Mills to take down division rival Jacksonville at home. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, here we go, to head up to LA and take on the no Joe Alt, no Rashawn Slater, Los Angeles Chargers. Cover the number there in 3. For myself, I will be on the other side of the Jags-Texans game. Give me the Jaguars -1.5 plus 102. New Jacoby Myers comes out there and looks good in his new threads. Pittsburgh Steelers to cover the 3. Again, I don't understand how they're favored, but they're underdogs. But that's how we like them with Mike Tomlin. So go get that W. Tampa Bay to come back at home and take care of these new school New England Patriots, and the Detroit Lions to not forget that embarrassing playoff loss at home last year and to put it on the Washington Commanders. Team total over 29.5 there. All right, my friend, it's time to get a little bit degenerate because we are going to the Degen plays of the week. This is where we take a little bit of pizza money, a little bit of side money, and try to turn it into a lot of money. So why don't you start first, my friend? It looks like we both got a little two-leggers, and we're trying to get up to the 20-1 area. Where you at?
Yeah, let me take the MVP of the league just to throw for 300 yards against the Dolphins team. That
Easy.
sucks.
They're bad.
Right? Pretty easy. And then what also kind of goes into this whole Davis Mills Texans money line pick is I think that Houston Texans defense is gonna give Trevor Lawrence some fits back there, and Trevor Lawrence is gonna throw at least 2 picks this Sunday. So give me Trevor Lawrence 2 interceptions, Josh Allen 300 plus passing yards, 20-1.
I like the first part. I'm on the Bills. We didn't talk about it. They got rid of Jalen Phillips. Bradley Chubb, or excuse me, not Bradley Chubb. Chop Robinson is not practicing with a concussion. Chubb actually is a little bit banged up too. So where's the pass rush going to come from against a good offensive line? I think the Bills are looking to roll there. The other one, Trevor Lawrence, 2 picks. Look, Houston Texans are a good defense. He's been known to turn the ball over. I'm like, the more we talk about this game, I might have a little Lawrence interception and Mills interception parlay, maybe a little no touchdown score. Like, I think this one might be really ugly. Yeah. 2 good defenses against 2 offenses that have been shown to struggle. But hey, you are on Josh Allen, 300 plus pass yards, and Trevor Lawrence, 2 interceptions for a juicy 20-1. For myself, going to be fairly similar with the 2-leg. I'm going to even start off the exact same way with a different quarterback. Give me Jared Goff, 300 pass yards here. In the game where they blew out the Bears and put up 50 points, he had over 300 yards. And again, I think this one's personal. I think the way to really take advantage of this Commanders team is do exactly what the Seahawks just did. Sam Darnold started 17 for 17. He hit his over in the first half for passing. So I think they're going to – and unlike the Seahawks who are going to be nice and just hand the ball off, I think the Lions are going to continue to throw. They don't give a shit. So give me Jared Goff, 300-plus yards. And give me Dalton Kincaid, 60-plus receiving yards against the Miami defense that we've been talking about here. Last time these 2 teams played, he was the leading receiver with 60-plus yards. He had 66. He had a big game last week. When he's healthy, he's arguably the wide receiver 1 for this offense. So I think two guys that are well within the range of outcomes. Jared Goff, 300 yards. Dalton Kincaid, 60-plus receiving yards at 18-1 there. That is plus 1758 for Goff and Kincaid to really what I think is just kind of do what I expect them to do. Not even have a crazy day. But hey, that is the Degen plays of the week. Now we're going to Thursday Night Football, where we've been on an absolute tear. Even if the games haven't been super pretty, we've got another one with blowout potential. We've got the Denver Broncos laying 9.5 at home, -500 on the money line against the visiting Las Vegas Raiders, who are catching 9.5 points, -110 on the money, or excuse me, -110. They are plus 380 on the money line. Over under sitting at 42.5. Let me go through the injury report for each team, and then we're going to let Derek give us his initial analysis here. We will start with those Denver Broncos. Wide receiver Marvin Mims ruled out with a concussion. Coming off the short week. He was out last week. He was practicing today. I thought he had a chance, but likely just not enough time in the protocol to clear. Would expect him back next week. Also, no Pat Surtain. That's not a surprise. Expecting him out at least 3 weeks here. And then Nate Atkins, the tight end, is also out. Backup safety PJ Locke is questionable. So really, we knew Surtain wasn't going to be going there. It's really just Mims was maybe a little bit of the surprise. Everybody else pretty healthy for this Denver team. And then we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. No Aiden O'Connell to back up Kenny Pickett, who backs up Geno Smith in that hilarious quarterback room. You got defensive tackle Adam Butler, starting defensive tackle. He's missed some practice. He's questionable with the back injury. And then we got both safeties in Lonnie Johnson and Isaiah Palumau, both questionable for this one. So a couple starters on this Raiders defense, a bit banged up here. How do you see this one going down? Like, where are you at? Either as my cat decides to join the party here, where are you at? She's excited to hear. Are you taking the Broncos or are you taking the Raiders in this one?
Yeah, this was a little bit trickier than what I originally thought because the Raiders and Denver Broncos are in two completely different trajectories
Right.
for a season long span here, but I did end up going with the Denver Broncos. I got it at -9 over bet 365.
Yeah.
I would still take the 9.5, but
Right.
you know, this one's tricky because Denver likes to play with their food, and they've won a ton of games by 2-3 points. They blew out the Dallas Cowboys a couple of weeks ago, but in general, they do like to play with their food. On the other hand, this is a division game. It's going to be an ugly one. It sounds like there could be some weather in this one, and I think that Denver Broncos defense is really just going to shut down Ashton Genty. And like you said, I mean, defensively for the Raiders, they're missing a couple guys in the back end. I think Bo Nix picks apart their secondary and has himself a little bit of a day there.
Yeah, no, I am right there with you. Give me the Broncos. Yeah, they are hanging the -9 at Bet365, so absolutely get the better price there. But I think this is a lot. I liked a lot of what you said. You also got a team in the Raiders who are coming off an overtime loss at home. That was a bit of a dream crusher. You had
Yep.
Brock Bowers score 3 touchdowns and go absolutely out of his mind,
Insane.
and then to
That's
still
insane.
lose that game.
Yeah.
I think that hurts. And teams coming off overtime straight to Thursday night have been very poor against the spread. I think we're
Plus going to altitude up there in Denver, you can't
yeah,
necessarily just
a
throw that
dome
out.
team outside, Geno
Right.
Smith outside dealing with any type of elements. Like the guy's got
Yep.
11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Like he's due for some turnovers.
Sure.
Even without Pat
Sadly, his interception number was like -170 or something stupid, but
That should tell you everything. Even
yeah,
without Pat Surtain, this defense is very good.
very good.
Geno Smith's been sacked 21 times. I'll get to that a little bit here, but yeah, no, I like the Broncos here. Like you said, sometimes they are a little susceptible to playing with their food and playing down to their competition. But no, I like them to roll here in this division rivalry game. I think they understand that there's going to be blood in the water, and I think this one I think can get pretty ugly. I mean, the Raiders, if we look at them, they've gone on the road. They went on the road to Washington. They lost by double digits. They went on the road to the Colts. They lost by 34 points. They went on the road to the Chiefs. They lost by 31. I know it's a big number, but this is a team that can show they will lay down. So,
Right.
yeah. All right, where are you going the props market here?
Props market, like I said, I do think that Bo Nix can pick apart this secondary a little bit. His passing yards number scared me a little bit, so I ended up going with his passing touchdown. So 2+
Yeah.
passing touchdowns at -120. At the end of the day, J.K. Dobbins only has 4 touchdowns on the year on the ground. It's been a few weeks since he's gotten his last one, so I think he's due to get a rushing touchdown. So I took J.K. Dobbins anytime touchdown at -120. I know it's chalk, but I think that the Denver Broncos are going to score on this Vegas Raiders defense, especially if there's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit of weather involved. I think Dobbins might get one of those. And then let me stick with the Broncos running back room. Give me RJ Harvey receiving yards. And what I did was because last week I whoa, what the heck? Last week he had 5 catches for 51 yards. So
Yep.
it's obvious that they don't mind checking it down to RJ Harvey. I took his 15+ yards at -108, took it up to 25 plus at +219, and then took it all the way up to 40 plus at almost 6-1 for him just to basically repeat his game last week against the Houston Texans. And this is a Raiders team that likes to just kind of sit back and wait for you to attack. So if
Yep.
Cortland Sutton and some of those wide receivers are covered up, I have no problem just dumping it off to RJ Harvey and just letting him do his thing. So
Yeah.
from a Raiders standpoint, I only have one for you. Give me Geno Smith's over 33.5 yard longest completion. I think that's the way to attack this Denver Broncos team. Like, you're not just going to run into them. They
Yeah.
excuse me, they can get after the quarterback quite a bit, but they
Yeah.
also do give up quite a few big plays. They've given up 8 plays of over, or 8 receptions of over 40 yards this season. So
Oh, wow.
I do
Okay.
think that if Geno Smith can find one of those guys deep, it's going to be on one-on-one coverage. We just need to break a tackle and go for another 35, 40 yard reception there. And then
Yeah.
finally, just a little bit of Degen play. Give me the Broncos defense to score a touchdown at some point at plus 475. I threw it out one time last year. It hit. And I think this is the game that I got to throw it out once again.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of what you're throwing out there. Look, I'll pick up right where you were talking about Geno Smith and that Denver defense giving up, what was it, 8 30+ yard
840
receptions.
plus yards receptions.
Yeah,
Yep.
even higher, 40. I'm gonna go with Trey Tucker over 42.5 receiving yards. I think he's the guy. He's the big play
Yep.
threat. He's actually the leading receiver for this team. I know Myers and Bowers have missed some time, but from a straight yardage standpoint, he leads the team. No more Jacoby Myers. Obviously,
Yep.
everyone in the world's attention is gonna be on Brock Bowers. I think going up against a backup cornerback there, whether it's Moss or on the other side,
Right.
I think Trey Tucker is a guy who can benefit. He's got crazy speed, and really it only takes one over the top, or he's going to be peppered with targets to replace those Myers targets there.
Sure.
So that's where I'll go there. The other Raiders play I have is Ashton Jeanty under 14.5 rushing attempts at minus
Mm,
103. It's a bit of a game script. When we talk about games where the Raiders have lost by a decent margin, there is a couple games here. Even last week in a game that went to overtime, he only had 13.
yeah.
Against Kansas City, he only had 6. In a game they won against Tennessee, he had 23. But then the week before, when they got blown out by the Colts, he only had 14. So he's hit this number in 3 out of the 4 past weeks. And then, against the Chargers, he only had 11 in that game script. So, I don't, for whatever reason, I know they're involving him more in the passing game, but Chip Kelly and that offense are getting away from the running game.
Yep.
And the Broncos are very stout against the run. So I think they're going to try to throw the ball. I think game script's going to pull them there. And I think GT is going to go under this 14.5 rush attempts at minus 103. I think we're getting a good price there. For the Denver Broncos, other than the side, RJ Harvey, you talked about him. They love them some RJ Harvey, right? It's the classic kind of like, who is Sean Payton going to love this week? Where's he going to go? Well, I'm going to go his anytime touchdown at 2-1. In the past 3 weeks, RJ Harvey has 5 touchdowns. In the
Yep.
past, like, he has been clearly involved. 3 receiving touchdowns, 2 on the ground. Clearly someone they're trying to get involved. And as you just said, whether it's the receiving game, the rushing game, I love him to find the end zone in a game where I think Denver's going to lay it on him, whether it's in garbage time or whether it's early on just in a gadget play. The other one I'm going to go here is sacks market. Geno Smith been sacked 21 times. The Denver Broncos lead the league in sacks. I think it's going to be an absolute sack party. Again, we're both expecting them to be up big. The Raiders are going to have to be throwing the ball. And this offensive line, there's still no Colton Miller. They've been a
Yeah.
mess ever since left tackle Colton Miller has been out. So give
Right.
me Jonathan Cooper, 7 sacks on the season already, 1+ sacks for plus 151. And John Franklin Myers, defensive tackle, has 4 sacks on the year, 1+ sacks at plus 227. Bonito and Allen are also good options, but their prices are a little bit, a little bit more juiced. And in the sacks market, what I like to do is, find good matchups and then find the value in those. Some of those bigger
Sure.
names like Bonita, I think that they're a little bit depressed in the market. And sacks are a little bit of some variability. Even if the guy creates pressure, it might be someone else benefiting for the sack. So I
Yep.
think Geno Smith is going to get taken down at least 3-4 times. And I think Cooper and Franklin Myers at, prices north of 150 plus 150. I think those are steals there. And then finally, you had a Degen play, so I can't let you be the only one having some fun here. Give me RJ Harvey 2+ touchdowns at 20-1 over on
Okay.
Bet365. Uh, 5 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. He had a 3-touchdown game a couple weeks ago against a bad Dallas defense. Now they're going up against a bad Raiders defense. I'd like him to get one early, and then as he's kind of filling in as the RB2 role when they're up big, he
Sure.
gets one on the ground. So, what for your sake, we get Dobbins early, we get Harvey early, and then Harvey finishes it out there, and we have a good day. So, look, we are both on the Denver Broncos there. We both like RJ Harvey, whether it's to find the end zone or through the air. Derek's taking the Broncos defense for his Degen play. I'm taking RJ Harvey 2+ touchdowns. Sounds like we gave out a ton of winners here
That's
for
right.
NFL Week 10. What do you got for the people before we get on out of here?
Well, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so. Let us know who you are backing this week, who you're fading, who you're tailing, all of the things. We love to discuss betting down in the comments. As always, we just did the college football episode last night. If you like the NFL, probably like college football on Saturday, so you might want to check that out. And then you are doing your injury report over at IDP Plus. Tomorrow night, talking injuries. We talked a little bit about those tonight, but there are a boatload this past week that you will update everybody over at IDP Plus.
Yeah, look, if you're like my cat here and fiending for some winners, we would just appreciate, all we ask for is a like, subscribe to make sure we keep this show absolutely free as we've done.
Yep.
And hey, we are very close to hitting our goal. Our goal for the beginning of the season was 1,000 subscribers. It's first year on the channel. Let's make sure we shoot for the stars here. We're pretty damn close. I think we're under 150 away from what we need to get to. So anything, yeah, if you've enjoyed the show, we would very much appreciate a little bit of, takes 2 seconds, like, subscribe, and we're going to keep giving out winners regardless. So like Derek said, let's chop it up in the comments. Let's have a good week. And you know what they say, folks, a lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription from Professor Locks and Doc here on DFSG Plus. We are out of here.